All right, cool. All right, sorry about that, guys. I'll apologise already just for my voice. I'm going to fade in and out a little bit during the presentation. Hopefully I don't cough too much. So thank you for coming to Human Conversations at Scale. I'm Rohan Locke. I'm Regional Director in dotmailer, in APAC for dotmailer. So I thought I'd just quickly, before I get into the actual presentation, has anyone heard of us before in the Magento world? See, I know Ben has. Yeah, got a few hands. So just very, very quickly, who are we? We're a 19-year-old business. We're a PLC. We originally come out of London, but we are a global business now. We're a marketing automation platform. What does that mean and why are we here? Well, Magento have spent over 300 hours auditing our code, and they picked the dotmailer platform to bake into Magento. So we're actually baked into the Magento core code from Magento 2.22. So if you're on that version or further, then you can get dotmailer and everything we do straight out of the box, and all the integration is there. What we provide our clients, so obviously it's email, SMS, it's Facebook Messenger, it's push message out to app, but really what we're talking about is, I guess, leveraging data from several different points to help you create a unique customer journey. Okay, so enough said about us. As we're here today to talk about human conversations at scale, but I guess what does that really mean? It's the use of data. It's use of data to create more natural and more human conversations or marketing. So, sorry, my voice is. So that normally means when you start to think about it, and a lot of people have spoken about today, is the kind of right message, the right time to the right person. But now what everyone's talking about is obviously the right channel, and we're going to touch on some of that today as I go through the presentation. So I thought I'd start out just with, I guess, VR. This is, I guess I had the privilege of kind of, someone handing me a VR headset a little while ago now. But has anyone actually used a VR headset here? A quick show of hands. Anyone used one? Yeah, they're quite cool, aren't they? Right? They're quite immersive, and it's so much like the real world. There's so many data layers around you, which was just amazing. It blew my mind. I was a bit skeptical before actually putting one on, but I think it's super cool. Which is really different to, I guess, what we're seeing out there still in today. Although there's all these different channels we can market through and so much data out there, marketing is still, well, really, we're not seeing a lot of marketers change their tactics, right? So I thought we'd just look back quickly. Although we've got things like VR out there now, I thought we'd look back quickly, just very quickly. This is a slide we get from the UK, which is some adverts from the UK that were iconic, they were parodied, and people talked about them a lot. So this type of advertising, though, in this day and age, just one size fits all kind of marketing approach doesn't really work that much these days. All right, we're all consumers in our daily lives, so we all leave behind a lot of data online. So I like to call that, I guess, digital breadcrumbs. So we're online, we're searching, we're liking things on Facebook, which we're quite happy to do. We're we're signing up with our email addresses and we're giving our mobile phone numbers away all the time. We're leaving behind now 10 times more data than we were just 5 years ago. So there's something like 4 billion email addresses out there now, which is 54% of the global population. And there's 5 billion mobile phone numbers out there now as well, which is 62% of the population. So it seems we're all happy to kind of leave our data behind, but there's always there's a kicker, right? There's always something we want in return, or something in exchange. So if we're expecting customers to leave their personal data behind, then they expect something back from the brand, right? They want something back from us in return. So I guess that's why I've got the BBC up here, which is expectation of the consumer is changing, and this is one of the drivers, all right? Just in this example alone, I could be watching a movie, I could fall asleep on the couch, I might wake up and go to bed, and I might watch the rest of it, or watch some more in my bed, and I might be on the train on the way in the morning, having still not finished my movie, and it's in the palm of my hand and I can finish watching it on my iPhone. So the consumer expectation is rising all the time. But yet, as I mentioned before, the marketing tactics that we're using still are quite often slow to change, and I think Nicholas touched on that earlier today as well. So I thought I'd look at one channel to start with. We obviously email marketing to start with, which is we run a report every year called Hitting the Mark. And Hitting the Mark we've done for about the last 8 years. And one of the key stats in that is that 60% of the people in that study weren't even doing an abandoned cart, which is just kind of crazy, right? If you're not doing an abandoned cart, it's the highest yielding marketing campaign there is, and we've seen up to 1,000% return just from an abandoned cart. So you're kind of crazy if you're not doing one. So although our consumers are leaving behind all this data, the issue seems to be around us as marketers kind of adopting more advanced tactics and still batch and blasting. Now, if you're batch and blast, how many people in this room are still think they batch and blast every now and then to their email list? We've got a few hands. Anyone want to admit to it? No one? All right, well, look, this is a little bit like a McDonald's, right? When you ask people how much they batch and blast, they very rarely admit to what they're actually doing, and all marketers do it in some way, shape or form. It's a bit like a McDonald's. You ask someone how many times they have a McDonald's in a week or a month, they never admit just how many times they've actually had a burger. So I think the main thing here is that if we're not paying attention to our customers and we're not paying attention to the data they're leaving behind for us to use, then our marketing risks becoming irrelevant. And I was having a conversation just a little bit earlier, just someone came up to me and said that their emails, is email a good channel? Their emails just aren't getting engaged with. I was like, well, if you're not being engaged with, just like social media, they stop delivering, right? They might just start going to junk, or they just stop being seen. So it comes back to being personal and having a good relationship with the client. So I mentioned hitting the mark already. We've done this study over the last 8 years, and I thought I'd point out just a few facts a few findings from hitting the mark. It's essentially, like I said, it's an email study, but it's the overall customer experience. We follow them for 6 months, right? So it's not just a study where we ring the brands in the study and say, do you send an abandoned cart? Do you do an abandoned browse? Right? That's not what we're doing. We actually follow them, and we follow their communications. We look at if they're personalising their communications as well. So we've done, like I said, it's 8 years old now, and we continue to grow it every year. So I think the main thing here is we're going to the site, we're seeing what kind of segmentation they're going to do after we're leaving all these digital breadcrumbs behind. One of the main findings then is, I guess, is no surprise, is the big shift to mobile and people trying to take advantage of mobile. Now, it's an old topic, so I'm not going to go on and on and on about mobile, but one of the things we still consistently see is people in email forgetting to optimise their emails for mobile. Right? Now that's quite often the first place that someone's going to see your marketing. Might be the only place that you connect with your customer every month. So if you give them a bad experience on a mobile, you can spend all the time you want on your website optimising the site. Right? But at the end of the day, they're not going to come back and convert if you haven't spent some time on your actual marketing messages as well. It says there, 70% of all e-commerce transactions can be made on mobile. Well, also 71% of brands that we saw in Hitting the Mark were also optimising for payment on mobile, which is awesome. Should 100% be doing it, but again, just don't fall over at the first hurdle, which is that marketing message that's going out needs to be friendly too. The next one is what we call the Dory Effect. So hopefully you've all seen Dory, right? Or Dory, Finding Nemo. Right? I won't get you to put up your hands for that one, but Finding Nemo, look, it's great when we meet Dory. Dory is, I guess, a lovable character. She's got short-term memory loss, right? So it's quite funny that every time you meet Dory, or every time Marlon, meets Dory, again, he has to basically keep reintroducing himself and telling Dory who he is, right? Which is, like I said, funny at first, but then eventually that kind of wears off, which is exactly what we're doing as marketers when our customers are coming back to our site, right? They're coming back through different channels, but we're constantly treating them just like Dory is, just here. So it grows old very quick. The next thing we saw was cringeworthy copy, right? So digital, unfortunately, or fortunately is cheaper, but unfortunately accountants in our organisations seem to think that we can just blast something out there and it doesn't have as much effect. Back in the day, it used to be direct mail or spending a bit more time on an advertisement that was going to go to print. It costs a lot more, so there's a lot more time spent on the copywriting as well. So we've seen some really poor examples of copywriting where people just really aren't thinking about how they're engaging their customers. So again, if you're a smaller business, think about whether you can do a contract with a copywriter to get a little bit of help there on that side of things. But definitely worth spending a little bit more time just on the copy. The next one is, you probably wouldn't expect to see this type of slide in a presentation here, but it's just all around automation. If I mentioned we were going to go out and plough a field today, this is not what you're thinking is going to happen. All right? There still are people doing this, but at the end of the day, there are other options out there to automate. Right? Ploughing a field these days you can do with a big tractor, and it has GPS, it has Wi-Fi and satellite and the rest in there. It can pretty much plough a field by itself. So this is how, again, we saw a total lack of automation in a lot of the brands that were in the study. All right? So what was even more shocking was that 14% of the brands, and I know it's only 14%, but it's a pretty shocking number, thinking that brands aren't even welcoming customers and saying thank you. Right? It's just a human trait that we have to remember. Right? Think about your customer journey and what happens after they purchase. What is the next thing they get? Is it just their invoice saying thanks for paying us a certain amount of money, and that's it? Right? What happens next in that whole journey? So 14% to me is quite high. 74% of consumers. I should also mention just on the welcome series. The welcome series isn't just there just to say thank you. It actually helps with all of your engagements moving forward. If you get an engagement in that welcome series, so in that first few emails, then they're something like 70% more likely to open your marketing communications over the next 150 days. Right? So that engagement early on is really important as a brand. So still worse, as I mentioned earlier, 60% of people aren't even sending an abandoned cart. All right. So again, it's the highest yielding campaign. If you're not doing it, I don't have anything more to say on that one. You just have to do it. All right. Okay. Just a little hint on the abandoned carts. Look, there's plenty of different theories, I guess, out there around how an abandoned cart works. This one is a nice place to start. Just a simple 3-stage abandoned cart. First abandoned cart should go out in the first hour. Right. Every minute after that, we start to see a drop in conversion. Right. The second email, maybe a day later. The third email, maybe a week after that. Play around with the actual messaging. So the first one, again, isn't just a percentage off or a sale. All right, it's that you left this behind. Right, come back and grab it. Was there an issue with the checkout? Something along that, just a customer service type email. A day later, or it could be benefit-led if you wanted to go that early. Play around with the timings, and then a week later, you're trying to entice them back. So again, you're potentially saying, look, this is the last one, right, that you can pick up. But this is a nice little series that we've seen some really high conversion from. So just the good news is, I guess, people haven't changed, right? Consumers' expectations are rising, right? But people are still people, and people still buy from people, right? So as humans, we still connect to see, to build relationships, right? That's why we love social so much, right? So in our daily lives, we ask questions. We're smart, right, about how we interact with people. We ask people questions. We look at their behaviour, and we're reading them, right? And we're smart around how we then reply to them. Right? We're deciding whether we like them or not. Right? So as marketers, we have to do the same thing. So the first thing here is, I thought I'd use us as a bit of an example, right? I mean, we're obviously a business as well, and this is just a screen grab of our site. And I guess the first place here is just looking at explicit data, right? So data you're gathering and asking the customer for, right? So you don't have to ask for it all up front. Here we just use an email address, right? But we're going to profile the customer as we go. So the next stage here is we're using things like everything. So down the bottom here, I don't know if you can see the little red dot, down the bottom here, just even on our ongoing marketing communications, we're just asking them, do you like us, right? How is it, how's our emails, right? So we're constantly trying to ask for feedback. Again, we're profiling the customer. If they answer a question, right, then we don't show that question again, right? So it's quite simple way of working, but it allows us, so long as we're leveraging that data, right, in our communications, then again, you'll see a higher return. Next one is, I guess, next one is implicit data. So this is a little bit harder to gather, right? So it's not explicit data, yeah, you gotta love that. It's a little bit harder to gather, but it is free of bias, right? So explicit data, if I asked you how many drinks you have every day or every week or every month, you're not going to give me the right answer, right? If I'm friends with you, you might tell me as a bit of a laugh, but definitely not going to give me an answer if I'm a doctor, right? I want to be seen in a better light, right? So implicit data is looking at the data that we're collecting off the site, right? So things like web behavior, right? What product have they looked at today, right? That potentially you didn't know they were interested in, all right? What did they look at on the email? And how do we feed that back in, right, to our personalisation of our communications as well? So implicit data can be a little bit harder to gather, but it's a lot more effective with your personalisation, and again, free of bias. So, moving through, look, sorry guys, voice is struggling. So look, there's explicit and implicit data. By the fact that you're here, you're looking at how you can improve your marketing tactics. All right, so I'd kind of like to think that you're already doing a little bit of segmentation. You're starting to think about how your clients' interests. You're potentially using a bit of dynamic content in your, say, whether it's email or some other form of communication. But you've already been thinking a little bit about, the right message, the right person, the right time. As I mentioned, email is a great place to do that. But we also need to be thinking, I guess, in this omni-channel world, today, we need to be thinking, obviously, about the right channel. So it's great with all these different channels out there today. You can be really effective just marketing to each individual channel, and there are channels that will work really well for you. But where you're going to get the best return, where the real value is trying to combine some of these channels together. As again, I'll refer back to Nick first thing this morning. Looking at the customer and saying that it's now a channelless customer journey, I think is what he called it. So combining this data is where the real power is, whether that be for alerts or reminders or notifications through the mobile. Whatever it is, it's going to deepen the client engagement. And also, just, I guess, like from a social point of view, again, it's just going to seem more human for them. All right, so the choice of channel really isn't up to you. The choice of the channel is down to the customer, right? So how to choose the right channel to be seen to be having these human conversations, I guess is, again, or how you can leverage that is really down to the technology that you picked as well. So I thought I'd move through. Sorry, guys. So automating or picking the right channel and automating some of these tasks isn't just going to make you look more human to the customer, but it's also going to it'll save you time as well. So think of just some of the simple daily tasks that you're now separating between these different channels as well. It's not just that it's going to look great to the customer, you will find a time saving for yourself as well. Okay. Sorry, guys. So I guess how should you engage with your customer and on what channel? We've got a few different examples here I thought I'd share, which is that, a few different examples that I thought I'd share. So first off, I guess the surprising thing, I've got water there, I'll just show you. First off, the voice calls now is ranked behind actually using your mobile as an alarm clock, right? Which I'm pretty sure most people in this room would use their phone as an alarm clock. It's also now, so I'm using your phone as an alarm clock. It's also, people now browse the internet also on their phones more than they do on a desktop. And emails are actually being read 55% of the time, they're being read on your mobile as well. We're also seeing that now the two leading channels by far is obviously messaging and social, all right, that we're seeing obviously on a mobile. So why that's happening is obviously people want to connect with other people. We love doing this, but I guess why messaging? And I give you an example that a little while ago I looked at how many times I messaged my wife in a week. And it was actually that we messaged, so I actually called her 4 times in the week. We also shared messages on Facebook or liked certain things on Facebook about 10 times. But there was 164 messages on WhatsApp. So on WhatsApp between us. And that's because it's instant. Right? We're used to that we're now, as consumers, we want everything now, right? So I just thought it was a great example that of just how things are changing out there. And the consumer expectation is the same. Consumers now want to connect with brands as well on Messenger. Right? So it's not just that they want to connect with us or they're willing to go to our website and wait. They're not willing to do that anymore and send an email in and wait for our reply. They want things like live chat. They want to be able to connect also on social with us and through things like Facebook Messenger as well. So let's have a look at, I guess, how mobile has, changed a little bit as well. So 89% of consumers, as I mentioned, now would rather contact a business, right, through Messenger. 64% would prefer live chat, right, over just ringing someone on a customer service call. And click and collect, things like click and collect have moved from SMS, they're moving to Messenger, whether it be Facebook or WhatsApp or push out to mobile as well. So that's all being driven by the demand of the consumer. But it's also, part of that is down to a reduction in cost and also time to set up as well. Things like live chat can actually be set up in 15 to 30 minutes. They're super quick and super easy. So I guess consumer expectations have changed. Understanding these, and understand that, and you'll maximise your return, as I mentioned earlier. But leverage every interaction with that customer. So feed data into one. As I mentioned, gone are the days when we can just sit around and wait 24 hours to get back to a customer. They'll go out somewhere else and they'll buy straight away. So I thought I'd share a few examples. That is quite small on that screen. But right up here, hopefully you can see that at the back. So here, when we first meet them, right, there's web push and live chat right at the start. Now, here we're obviously trying to collect data. We potentially don't know who they are, but we're trying to collect data. We're trying to encourage a dwell time on the site. And we're obviously trying to get them to engage with us as well. So nice way to try and get them to engage. Again, some more data there that we can potentially leverage. Web push is a little inbox on the website that you can start to message people on as well. So it's not, like I said, it's not email. We still don't know who they are. Here, again, still on live chat when we're trying to seek to connect, but we're trying to answer questions quickly. And I guess one of the things that we see with live chat is a lot of people take it up, but they don't put the right person on their live chat. People need to be able to answer questions quickly. If it's a technical product, you need to think about that. Right? You can't, you can turn people away just as quick as you can get them to convert. And we do see an increase in conversions when you have live chat on the site. Like I said, it's all about having the right people manning it. The next one here is the sign up and verification. So obviously here we're trying to leverage data, so it's the explicit stuff we're asking for. We're trying to get this customer to engage. So they potentially click through, right, from somewhere on the site. They're going to give us our details. Why not confirm with if they've got the app, or why not push, again, an SMS out to them as well. Again, it's up to them how they would like to receive these, but it's just a nice, effective way. The other one is, I guess, purchase and the order confirmations here. So the purchase and order confirmations, again, here we've got the email inbox, but we've also got Facebook Messenger as well, which we're starting to see a lot more customers opting for Facebook Messenger. It's potentially a little bit less crowded in that inbox right now, right? So it's great for the brand because it's cheaper than SMS. And again, you can start matching up some of your data there as well. So here, Facebook Messenger, and then also the email inbox. I guess with all of this, I think the next talk's on conversational commerce. What we're trying to do is start the conversation earlier, up the top here, so where we don't even know who they are and we're trying to store data on them, whether it's about their web history or whether it's about their, like I said, all from live chat. We're trying to engage early on, and then we're trying to use that throughout the process. But we're learning the whole way through. We're learning about them, and we're continuing a conversation. Right? It's not batch and blast, right? And we're going to try and use this through all channels. Sorry. Went a bit too early there. I guess what have we learnt through this? Consumers' expectations, as I mentioned, have changed. They are going to use multiple channels, so you need to decide as a brand, have a strategy around what channels you're going to engage with your consumers on. You can't be on all if you're a small business, all right? So you need to have a think about your strategy and where you'll engage with that customer and how you can leverage that data as well. I guess there's a lot that you could be doing, but if you keep it simple and you work your way back through even just something simple like that email journey, I've got a great little document on our standout there, which is the top 10 revenue driving programs that we think all businesses should be running. Now, that's a great start point for you as well, but really what you need to be thinking about now is, like I said, not just the right message, the right person at the right time, but also the right channel. If you leverage all that data, all right, I guarantee you will see an uplift in ROI, but you'll also see a much happier customer in the long run as well. So hopefully they'll refer more business for you as well. So thank you for bearing with me and my voice, and thank you for your time, everyone.